How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Welcome back to another bedside chat of the Biz in Flow couple. I'm Natasha Koo.
And I'm Jachym.
Yes, today we definitely have a topic in mind to talk to you about. What is it, Jachym?
We are going to talk about mindset versus strategy.
Yeah, because what we share with you is mainly or mostly the mindset, the internal game of entrepreneurship and making it in business. But what about strategy? How important is it? And how does the two play together? And are we wrong to not share tactics or strategies with you all?
Yeah, so let's get going with it.
So how did this topic come up anyways?
Well, it came up because I visited my brother and he was saying, well, you can have a great attitude and a great mindset, but you can be doing the wrong strategies and you need both. And what do you think about that? Because you had lots to say about it. And I stopped her because I was like, let's record it on the podcast because I want to capture it for you guys so you can hear our thinking about it.
I think both is really important. But since we focus on mindsets, I just want to say that when I become more aware myself, so this is the mindset or the internal game, I'm more aligned with reality. And this is my experience in my previous business, is that when I'm clear myself and I'm able to see things as they are, may it be a mistake, a failure, numbers not hitting it, then I actually accept that. And then I'm able to do something about it. So doing something about it might mean revisiting my strategy and checking in if what I'm doing is enough or if it's the right thing to begin with. So I feel like, yes, mindset is completely internal. In some ways, it's almost intangible because it's how you receive the world, it's how you engage in the world after you experience a deep transformation or change. But for me personally, I've seen that it brings me so much more clarity because it's as if I take off some glasses that was making things like tinted or distorted or emotional or like worse than it is. So I think that actually having an extremely healthy mindset or just being optimal internally helps you to see whether or not your strategy is correct. So I think it just helps me to act quicker and with less when you're you're sticky and you're deep in your emotions and you're kind of having this little tug of war in your head and you can't do anything about what's actually happening.
Yeah, and you said something like, I don't know what it was before, and I had it when we were talking, but now I forgot it. So forget about it. I'm going to go in a different direction. What though I find important is to point out that there is a certain skill to entrepreneurship, to building businesses, and also to thinking about your business. Because if you are not used to think, then you might just be kind of mindlessly going about your business. Now, yes, when you have more self-awareness, that might come in more. However, it is good to read certain books, to be exposed to other people's thinking that have built businesses, because you can learn from them of how they see the world and what their thought processes are that has helped them along the way and that are helping them along the way as well.
And I see strategies as multiple options or routes you can take. some are extremely efficient, or might even be like almost like competitive, very kind of like alpha male, masculine type of approaches. And then there's like a more fluid, feminine approach. And of course, this is like from my background of working with women and like seeing the differences between like the two types of energy that you can bring into business and how the processes can look. But I personally think that one of the reasons we also don't share strategies, at least for me, is because there are so many out there, and they're different in their style and how you execute and how management, like there's just so many ways you can go about the strategies and the tactics that I believe there's the right ways for you. And it's not necessarily for us to prescribe, because you can try a strategy and maybe it does bring in the numbers, but maybe it just doesn't fit with your culture or with your values. So then you need to pivot, right? And so I think it's something that's also for strategies has to do with trial and error. Not only what fits your business, but what fits your personality and ultimately what you want to do, and the values that come along with it, and the culture that's involved. And I think there are just so many factors. It's something you got to try out for yourself. But of course, when I say try out, that means you actually got to take action, and then you'll know which strategies actually work out best for you in the long run.
And as well, I mean, our focus is helping you building a business, and it is also focusing on your internal experiences. Because for me, there's a clear line between strategies and tactics that you can learn, and they can be useful and valuable, and you can read them, you can read books and listen to other people and all of that. There's tons of information out there, and we as well engage with that. There's nothing wrong with it. There's this line, and then there's the line where we actually focus on your experience of building a business. How is your experience? Are you stressed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling out of control? And all those kind of elements, they are internally created, and looking at those can shift your experience without actually even having to shift your business. Your business can be in the same place, but your experience of your business can be vastly different. And you can go from a unresourceful state like overwhelm and stress and feeling out of control to a inflow state where the business is still not performing maybe at the level that you want, but you are in a place of peace and clarity and joy. And then you look at the business and you can drive it forward in a way that is much more useful and coming from a place of reflection and rather than of reaction. And just, like a fireman just running after the next fire and putting it out, you can actually step back and see it for what it is.
Wow, that's really profound, because so many people, and like a lot of the time, we are looking for that thing to do on the outside, right? That key. We're thinking that it's some tactic, it's something we gotta do, and then things will shift. But just like we talked about a few podcast episodes back, we held a workshop, and the theme that kept coming up was management and people in the workplace and leadership, and trying to get everyone to face the same direction, trying to get everyone to deliver in the way that you want them to. And I'm really confident that people walked away from that workshop without any tactics. We didn't prescribe them what to do, but there were so many aha moments, and you can just see it in their faces that they understood something. They saw something that they didn't kind of link together before. They didn't connect together before. And even just from having that new insight or that new perspective, going back to work, they might, do things that the same way, might be the same strategy within the business or the same process, but they're bringing something new. I can't even describe it. Like, how do you describe doing the same things but getting different results because something internally has shifted? And the changes, it's just so hard to describe what like externally has changed, right? So they might even be
there's this example of this woman who came to the workshop, and she's very impulsive, and she realized that she needs to do some martial arts and do something with the energy, and just doing that for herself has shifted how she's relating to her team and her company. She founded the company, and even though nothing on the outside has shifted, she was showing up differently. And that what makes all the difference, because our communication is much more than just the words we say or the tonality we use. It's our whole body, it's our whole being, and how we show up can really, really impact a relationship, because it always takes two. It always takes two to keep up a dynamic.
And this just like reminds me of a perfect example. Say an employee within your company, or say you are following the same marketing strategy or a sales script or whatever it might be, but when you finally see through whatever was holding you back, say your insecurities, say you finally really believe in yourself and you see the true value that you can give, and like it's as if like a floodgates open, and you're open to yourself, you're open to what it is that you're actually building in your business, and everything aligns. Now imagine you practicing the same tactic, right? So then it's gonna deliver completely different results. That person on the sales conversation, even if you are following the same sales script, it's gonna deliver a completely different results than someone who hasn't had that change. So in some ways, you know, the strategy can stay the same, but if something happens within you, something enormous happens within you, then you can repeat the same process or the same strategy and get completely different results.
And also, it is very hard to observe and to think when your mind is running 100 miles an hour.
You mean to assess
Yes.
whether what you're doing, the tactics, the strategies are actually working?
Yeah, and take time to think about your business or think about the strategy, look at it, look at the different components. It's quite hard when your mind is super busy, freaking out about stuff, and you're overwhelmed. Not saying it's impossible, it's just a lot harder. And especially when you're very emotional and there's certain areas that you can't think about because they're too emotionally touching for you, and all you see is a red because it's super emotional for you, you're not going to find solutions that you are able to find when you actually are not as emotionally involved with it, because you've taken the focus away from that situation and put it on yourself.
And that's a really good one. This can go for like managing people, right? People within your business, inside or outside your business. Or it can also go for numbers. Now, I have a really good example. Quite a few family members or family friends of mine are really deep into stock exchanging and buying stocks, and oh my goodness, it's quite funny now that I share it, but I just want to share it. My dad, before he passed away, he has his own portfolio of stocks, and since he passed away a few years ago, my family has to manage that without him. And now this is my family, who I guess has a different investment style, or I don't know how to describe it exactly without like giving too many details. But what I want to say is that my dad probably did his calculations and has his mind set on a certain number, when to sell, when to buy in, and all that kind of stuff. Now we kind of go in not knowing what the game plan is, and not really knowing when he bought it what his thinking and his reasoning was. So now we as a family look at what's left of his portfolio, and we see the market go up and down and down and up, and for my family members, it's just an extremely emotional process, because it's as if we kind of lost touch on like the actual objective and the numbers game, right? We've become so emotional. Like, not me, I've quite like detached myself from the emotional part of the stocks within my family, but just to see how some family members of mine just react purely from an emotional place. So one day if it's going down, Like someone will have a really bad mood and then we'll be swearing at the computer, and then the next day, if it happens again, it's red again, there'll be another bad mood. And then when it's green, it's like, oh, suddenly I can allow myself to be happy. So it's really interesting to see how, when we have certain associations with numbers and we have an idea of where things should be. And I guess, this is a very special example, because, in the stocks, you don't have the leverage to change it, right? Like in a business, you actually have the power to do certain things to change your numbers, not to manipulate it, but to, take action so that you can better, the performance. But in this case, it's still numbers, and just to see how, okay, a number shows up on the screen, and then someone just becomes really emotional or pissed off about it. That's totally interesting, because that you can't do that when it comes to business. That's so much emotions that you're actually not in the right place to take the right action or to even think clearly anymore.
Yeah. What I'm really excited about is that learning or seeing, understanding, not necessarily learning, but understanding and seeing what we are trying to show people, what we're pointing to, and the work that we're doing with people. It may start out with business, however, the effect is shown all over your life. And that's been my experience. I started to hire coaches because of my business, because I want to grow it and all of that. But what I've gotten is infinitely more valuable for me, because it has shown me authentic and true peace, and has given me ways of interacting with myself and the world that's just so much more flowing, easy. And when things do show up, when there's emotions that come up, they just don't last as long. And so that's where I see really the value is, yes, it makes you more functional in the business world. However, what you gain is so much more. It sends ripple effects through your entire life.
And this is when I know that I've made a big difference. And I know you're talking about your work and your personal experience, but for me, I know that I've done a really good job with my client and our work together when they start sharing with me how it just starts to spread in every single aspect of their life. Like even the smallest moments that would get them stressed out, like Christmas shopping or conversations with a family member or at work with colleagues, just the littlest things, when that starts to shift and change for you, and you're not even actively doing anything to change it, then I know that, okay, this is very profound. This is very profound, because once it's like a fire. Once you light it, you just need that initial spark, right? Once you get it, it starts to evolve on its own.
Yeah.
And it just becomes easier and easier. And it's so funny for us to say this, because for so many people, if you're in a 9-to-5, you're thinking of doing a side hustle, or you're thinking of quitting your job. You're like, creating a business, yes, it excites you, but it's going to be so much work. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be difficult, right? And here we are in the middle of starting a new business, maybe 3 weeks now into it,
yeah.
And we're saying, it's all right. Like, we're doing well and it's flowing. And you're saying that you find yourself in this state of peacefulness. And that is just such a contrast between what we're feeling right now and what we're sharing with you, and what the rest of the industry keeps trying to pound into everyone's heads.
Imagine this. You set out to build a business because you want more freedom in your life. You want more fulfillment, you want more purpose. Maybe you want to travel. And you set out on this journey. And you meet this weird couple.
Good one.
You listen to their podcast. And you engage with them in whatever way. And what you find out is that you can be peaceful, happy, and free now. Right now. And you might not have the business yet that you desire. But you have the freedom. You have the love, you have the connection, you have the peacefulness. The things that actually matter to you, you got them now. You actually have achieved what 99% of people are looking for on this planet. And they look it through possessions, they look it for it through adventures and travels, and they're all great things. Look, this is not a bash against those things, but you actually can become a finder of those things and have them in your life, no matter where you're at. And you can create the business that you love, and you can have the outward success, but you have found the inner success. And this is what my soul and heart sings for, is helping you find that what you're seeking for and what you believe at this moment is going to give you the business. And you can have it now before even having the business, and create the business as well. You can have it all. And that's why I love doing Business Flow, because the impact and what we want to share is really, really profound, and it will show you what you're actually looking for. It's not going to be in the place that you think it is, but you get it.
Case closed, huh? So is it a mindset or is it strategy? We just watched a video about a ton of tactics and strategies that we are definitely going to implement. It's a book we've been reading. We're going to study it. We're going to make sure that we get it right. But I know that using that specific technique, we will most definitely reduce a lot of conflict or tension within the company when we hire, when we fire. We're going to reduce a lot of miscommunication. There's going to be transparency. There's going to be a lot of clarity on our core values and the vision and the direction. We're going to be delegating extremely well. Everyone's going to know what they're doing, and we're going to keep everyone on track. Everyone will be disciplined. Now, it sounds like a great recipe for things to go well. Right? For things to become this really well-oiled machine, and for everything to be really productive and efficient. That's great. It makes me happy, as a manager. But what if things shit hits the fan? What if suddenly someone doesn't do it right, or something happens where in this perfect world of executing based on this really great strategy just doesn't give us that what we're looking for, and our goals still don't hit it? How are we still going to react to that situation? Because we can do the best that we can implement the strategy, but life has its way of throwing a wrench in from time to time, or giving you a lemon from time to time. So, we can kind of look at strategies and tactics and say, yes, it's going to help my business, I'm all for it. But what if I can't hide? What if I can't use strategies and tactics to hide from my weak spots, those emotional triggers within me? What if no matter what you do, sometimes negative numbers are still going to show up, mistakes are still going to pop up, and conflicts may still rise up within your organization? What are you still going to do in those situations? So I think that no matter how great of a strategy and how well you execute on it, this mindset thing is still going to help you in those moments, because they're unavoidable. That's what I want to say. And
here's the thing, you find so many successful people who have all the outward success, and yet they feel empty inside. Yeah. It's not because outward success is bad, but outward success is not where it comes from. You have to look in the other direction to find what you're really seeking for. And what we want to have you become is being inwardly and outwardly successful.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder if Jachym can sleep now after that deeply, deeply heartfelt monologue.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take our rest. We're gonna call it a day. And I really do hope that this episode reaches you. There'll be no call to action. I'm not going to ask you for stars. I just really hope that you open your heart up to this very message that we shared with you today.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And good night.
Thank you for your time. We so appreciate it and hope to talk to you tomorrow.